Okay, I'm a little late with this story time, but I promised it, and I'm gonna get it out. And I think it's very timely, ironically, because of that black lieutenant that was pulled over in Virginia, pepper sprayed, thrown to the ground, brutalized by police, which is not funny, but funny, because I had just been talking about how a lot of black veterans, especially after seeing, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier, we've been talking about how, like, a lot of black veterans have noticed that, you know, when you're in the military, you're a veteran, you're usually seen as one of the good black people, and so usually that saves you from some aggression from aggressive white people, including the police. And because what happened to Sam in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a similar thing happened to me. And the story in Virginia is kind of it's kind of showing that like, even that so much is not enough to protect you being one of the good black people that's, like, worth saving. And it honestly triggered some very bad memories for me when I was being harassed in the military by my commander. You know, being yelled at while in uniform, humiliated. I was a first lieutenant. She and her boss would call me airman or sergeant, ranks that are very, very far, not far, like far beneath, like lower ranking than I. So basically, like, you know, discounting all the work that I had done to personally get to that rank. But anyway, my story. So this takes place in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, and Grand Forks, North Dakota, on the border of North Dakota and Minnesota. So already very white place. We were at a cast party. We had just finished doing the musical Hairspray, and we were leaving a restaurant, and I was driving a friend home, white male. He wasn't, like, off his fucking rocker drunk, but, you know, tipsy enough where, like, it's probably, you know, responsible that, you know, I drive him home and then he just comes to get his car later on the next day. So that's what happened. And so we get in the car, and this is, none of this is an exaggeration. I pull out of the driveway. Literally just pull out of the driveway from the restaurant, and instantly a police car turns on their siren behind me. And my friend beside me is like, the fuck? Like, you literally did nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I went over the bridge to get from Minnesota to North Dakota. I'm like, they're gonna wait until I get across this fucking river into the state where I live. And so once I got over the bridge, I pulled over, and the officer came to my window, and he was like, and he was instantly aggressive from the jump. That's all I really remember, because I was very terrified. And he's like, you drove over the median. You were driving in the middle of the road. And I was like, no, I wasn't. Especially because you pulled me over as soon as I turned out the driveway, so I wasn't even in the street yet. How could I be driving on the median? And he was like, yes, you were. And of course my friend next to me, gay, sassy white man, is like, she didn't do anything. And I'm like, chill, man. And I'm like, officer, I didn't do anything. And he was like, yes, you did. Give me your license and registration. It was like, I was like, okay. And so I gave him my license and my registration, my insurance. And he walked back to his car. And my friend next to me was like, what the fuck was that? Like, I can't believe this. Like, you literally just pulled out the driveway and they clocked you. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I've heard of things like this happening, but I've never seen it happen. And I'm like, honestly, man, this is the first time that it's ever happened to me, and I was really scared. And this is where, you know, the veteran, being one of the good black people, comes in. He comes to my window, and the thing is, I gave him my insurance that said USAA, and USAA services specifically veterans, military members, veterans, and their families down 2 generations. So, like, my grandkids could get USAA if they wanted. And so he sees my my USAA insurance, because I didn't even give him my military ID, and he was like, "Oh, you have USAA?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, so are you in the military?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm a first lieutenant in the Air Force. First Lieutenant Nikki Robinson de la Cruz. I work over in Grand Forks Air Force Base in contracting." And he sits there for like 2-3 seconds, and he just gives me my shit back and is like, "Have a nice night," and then just walks away. No, be careful next time. No, nothing. It was the eeriest thing, because he was incredibly rude and like aggressive when he got to the window. Like, even hand on belts, near gun, everything. But the moment that he found out that I was in the military, they just left with nothing else to say. And my friend, again, next to me was like, I can't believe I just saw what just happened. I'm like, I can't either, man, because this is the first time this has ever happened to me. And he was like, and we both were like, what if I had been alone? You know, like, what if I had been alone? Especially because Grand Forks, North Dakota is one of the places where the Ku Klux Klan has been known to be quite active. And so it fucked me up a little bit. And so basically that's my experience of, you know, being able to get out of situations of aggression with white people just by being a veteran, because you're automatically one of the good black people. But as we can see, with the lieutenant that was pulled over in Virginia, that's not necessarily a saving grace anymore. And I know there's a lot of black veterans out there that under comments under my video have shared their stories, similar stories about that. And yes, like the police in general is nicer to veterans and military members in general, no matter what you look like. But this police officer was waiting for me and saw me just pulling out the driveway and literally pulled me over for nothing. He was waiting for me in that corner. And so seeing that go down in Virginia is really scary to me. Because like there's nothing to protect anybody, any of us, from going through that. And that's terrifying. And like I said, it brings back some very haunting memories of just being humiliated in uniform. Like just being commanded to dress up in service dress just to go to somebody's office and be humiliated, harassed, and threatened. I could throw you in jail if I want to. I'm gonna end your career. I've told everybody on base about you. Everybody on this base knows about you and that you're trouble, that you ain't shit. I could have you thrown in jail. Who are they gonna believe, me or you? Said to me from my white female abuser. Like, It's not the same as that traffic stop, but it does bring back some very unfond memories in which you're reminded that no matter where you are, you're not safe. And no matter veteran, military, active duty or not, you're not safe. So that's my story. Not nearly at that specific one, the specific traffic stop one, like not nearly as terrible as the one in Virginia, but it was one instance where I realized that if I hadn't shown myself to be a veteran, things could have been much worse for me. And if my white male friend wasn't there with me physically, also things could have been worse. So there's really nothing else I can say after this, because I'm really tired and really shaken by this shit. So that's story time.